Thank you so much, dear devotees, for joining us here today on Facebook and Zoom and on YouTube. We are going to get started with our discussions on Bhagavad Gita after this brief prayer to the spiritual master. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnana-anjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Caitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padkamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All right, thank you so much, dear devotees, for joining us here on the call, and we will get started.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Okay, so we are going to do 7.8 on the call today. So let's get going and we will bring that up. 7.8. I'm going to start sharing my screen here. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes,
Yes, Mataji.
All right, thank you. So here in this verse, Krishna is continuing to describe the things that make up this material world and how he is associated with those items. So he talked in the beginning about bhumi, apo, analo, vayu, kammano, buddhirevacha, ahankara, ityame, binna, prakriti, ashtada. So he talked about his energies using which this material world is manifested. Right? So now in Bhagavad Gita 7.8, he's saying, raso ऽहमप apsu kaunteya prabhāsmi śaśi-sūryayoḥ praṇavaḥ sarva-vedeṣu śabdaḥ pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu raso ऽहमप apsu kaunteya prabhāsmi śaśi-sūryayoḥ praṇavaḥ sarva-vedeṣu śabdaḥ pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu raso ऽहमप apsu kaunteya prabhāsmi śaśi-sūryayoḥ praṇavaḥ sarva-vedeṣu śabdaḥ pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu. Synonyms: rasaḥ. Rasaḥ means the taste. Aham, I. Apsu, in water. Right? Apa is bhumi, apo, analo, vayu, water. Right? So apsu, in water. Kaunteya, O son of Kuntī. Prabhā, the light. Asmi, I am. Asmi, I am. Śaśi-sūryayoḥ, of the moon. Śaśi-sūryayoḥ, and the sun. Praṇavaḥ. Praṇavaḥ means the three letters A-U-M, pronounced Om. Sarva, in all. Vedeshu, the Vedas. Śabdaḥ, sound vibration. K, in the ether. Pauruṣaṁ, ability. nṛṣu, in men. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O son of Kuntī, I am the taste of matter. I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras, and I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This verse explains how the Lord is all-pervasive by his diverse material and spiritual energies. The Supreme Lord can be preliminarily perceived by different energies, and in this way he is realized impersonally. As the demigod in the sun is a person and is perceived by his all-pervading energy, the sunshine, so the Lord, although in his eternal abode, is perceived by his all-pervading diffusive energies. The taste of water is the active principle of water. No one likes to drink seawater because the pure taste of water is mixed with salt. Attraction for water depends on the purity of the taste. And this pure taste is one of the energies of the Lord. The impersonalist perceives the presence of the Lord in water by its taste. And the personalist also glorifies the Lord for his kindly supplying tasty water to quench man's thirst. That is the way of perceiving the Supreme. Practically speaking, there is no conflict between personalism and impersonalism. One who knows God knows that the impersonal conception and personal conception are simultaneously present in everything, and that there is no contradiction. Therefore, Lord Caitanya established his sublime doctrine, achintya bhed and abheda-tattva, simultaneous oneness and difference. The light of the sun and the moon is also originally emanating from the Brahma-jyotir, which is the impersonal effulgence of the Lord. And praṇavaḥ, or the Omkar, transcendental sound in the beginning of every Vedic hymn, addresses the Supreme Lord. Because the impersonalists are very much afraid of addressing the Supreme Lord Krishna by his innumerable names, they prefer to vibrate the transcendental sound Omkar. But they do not realize that Omkar is the sound representation of Krishna. The jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness extends everywhere, and one who knows Krishna consciousness is blessed. Those who do not know Krishna are in illusion, and so knowledge of Krishna is liberation, and ignorance of him is bondage. Om Tat Sat. So I'm opening it up for observations, any comments on what you heard or read so far. Any comments?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to Srila Prabhupada. Mataji, here it is written, Srila Prabhupada has written, because the impersonalists are very much afraid of addressing the Supreme Lord Krishna by his innumerable names, they prefer to vibrate the transcendental sound Omkar, but they do not realize that Omkar is the sound representation of Krishna. That this is his sound representation, Krishna's sound representation. So Mataji, Om. So Mataji, they believe in Om, but they don't believe in Krishna. That's what.
No, they believe in Krishna. They believe in God, but in a formless form of God, in the formless sense. They believe that there is God, but he doesn't have a form. So they are putting energy higher than the and than Krishna. So it's putting Krishna's energy is to be higher than Krishna. So the Krishna that we see, that we saw 5,000 years ago, they're just saying that God is energy, and then from energy comes the form. And he takes this form over here, but the higher level is the energy. So Krishna doesn't have a form. And
but,
that's why
but Mataji, unless Krishna is there, how can the energy be there? So Krishna has to be there to have the energy.
yeah,
so
that's what the
how do
personalist will say. Right?
Oh.
That's what the personalist will say. It's just a thought process. And that's why they say that Athapi te dev padambhujadvaya prasadileshanugihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno na chanyameko pichinan vichinvan. So he's saying that Athapi te dev padambhujadvaya. So he's praying to the Lord, Brahma. He's praying to the Lord and he's saying that if we get the shelter of your lotus feet, pad ambuja, right? Pad is feet and ambuja is lotus. So athapi te dev padambuja dvaya, two, right? Two lotus feet. Prasad leshanu grihita evahi. So if we get even a little filament, lesha, very small amount of the shelter of your lotus feet. Janati tattvam bhagwan mahimna. So if I get the shelter, even a small bit, a tiny little bit, tiny filament of the shelter of your lotus feet, then I will understand tattva. I will understand the truth. Jananti tattvam bhagavan mahimno. And of you, Bhagwan, I will understand your mahima, right? Your greatness, right? Janati tattvam. So athapite dev padambujadvaya prasadileshanugrihita evahi. Janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanyam ekopi chiran vichinvan. And not the one who chira for a very long time. What does he do? Vichinvan speculates. Right? So it is speculation. Who came first? Who came last? I think this is what it is. I think Krishna is energy. I think Krishna is not the form. I think Krishna is the form. Either ways, right? So you will understand, because it is Krishna's mercy on you that you are understanding that he has a form. Those who think Krishna is the impersonal do not have Krishna's mercy yet to understand his form like that. Right? That's why they say it's very important to get the mercy of Krishna. And Krishna says without his mercy, nothing happens in this material world. Right? So if you are saying, you are illogically asking that question, then how can energy come? Energy comes from the energetic.
Yes.
Right? Like that. So it's just a matter of thinking. And it's not that the Bhagavatam is not there in front of them. Or even if you give them the Bhagavatam and ask them to read it, even after reading it, they will still continue to
Speculate
with you. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
But
you so much.
Mataji, why are they using the word very much afraid?
We talked about that last week. But they are very much afraid of the form, right? That's what it says there?
Yeah.
So you and I have form, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where is the pain? Pain is in the different parts of the form, right? Knee is hurting, back is hurting, head is hurting. So they think, Prabhupada says that they're thinking that all these miseries are due to having a form. If I had no legs, then I won't have leg pain. If I have no hands, I won't have hand pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this body is the cause of the pain. So they try to go to a stage where there is no body, right? And so, but what they don't understand is that the pain that you're getting is from the fact that you are identifying with the material body. If you don't identify with the material body, nothing happens, right? For example, you identify yourself as an Indian, not you, okay? Somebody identifies themselves as an Indian. So if there's an earthquake in India, their heart will start throbbing, okay? But if there's an earthquake in Italy, it might not throb that hard. Why? Because you're not identifying yourself with Italy. It doesn't matter what happens in Italy. But because you're identifying yourself, I am an Indian, so anything happens in India, you get worried. So it's all to do with the identification. So when you identify yourself with the body and you think I'm the body, then the pains corresponding to the body or happenings in the body, the reactions of the body, whatever is happening to the body will impact you. But when you reach above that stage and you realize that you are not the body, right, then you're able to still do miracles no matter what shape the body is in. Can you give me an example of a person who did miraculous work, even the shape of the body was not good? Condition of the body. Condition.
Bhishma Pitama was lying on the bed of arrows, and he was actually, nobody can lie on the bed of arrows like that. He must be having pain, but he was not feeling, and in fact, he gave the all the analogy to Yudhishthir and all his brother, all the Pandavas. So he was telling them how to have the kingship and how to...
Right. And sooner, and closer to our historical times, closer to our time. Prabhād, right? You see that, right? What kind of a miraculous feat do you do? We are not even 69 and already body is drooping.
Yeah.
And at 69 to go and start something, how difficult that is, right? I'm always thinking of retirement. So that is a mercy of the Lord, that it only by the mercy of the Lord that we get out of this kind of mental speculation. And so that's why they are afraid. They're thinking, oh, they're speculating. All these problems are because I have this body. But they do not realize that, those who die untimely deaths, they lose this body, but they live in a subtle body. And it's very painful in that body also. Because you have all these desires. Subtle body is the soul plus mind, intelligence. And right, so they have, so they have these desires because mind is there, producing factory of thought, producing thoughts. But you cannot enjoy that, because to enjoy those thoughts, you have to have a gross body. So it's not that the moment you give up this body that all the miseries go away. It's only when you transmigrate to a spiritual, conception that I am a spiritual being and realize your spiritual identity, that's when the real happiness comes, right? Brahma bhuta prasannatma, that's when you become, right? And the happiness increases when you start doing the loving devotional service to the Lord. Then you'll be really happy. Till then, you'll always be afraid and be like, I don't want a form, I don't want a form. Things are very good. And don't talk to me about form, because form is confusing, right? So it's all light, very nice. They'll say that. Does it help you, Vaishana Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Anything else that anybody else saw from the verse that we are talking? So what does he start with? What is Krishna saying?
I am the taste of water.
I am the taste of water, right? So isn't it very interesting thing that when you're thirsty and if I give you a Coca-Cola, you might drink it?
No.
Then you're more thirsty, I give you another one, you drink it. But after some time, you said, like, I want the plain water. So there's something about plain water, right? And Srila Prabhupada is talking also about the purity of the water. And he says that if it's seawater, it gets mixed with salt and all kinds of nonsense that we dump into the sea these days, right? It gets mixed with all that it does. You don't even want to drink seawater. Actually, we'll die if we drink after what we dump into the seas nowadays. So he's saying, I am the taste of water. So there is something about the taste of the water. There is this multi-billion-dollar industry that sells water, right? And everybody claims that my water is the best tasting water. So there is some taste in the water, right? Now, if you go to the scientists, they will say that water is tasteless, right? That's how we define water, to be a tasteless liquid. It doesn't have any taste, but there is some taste. In this particular verse, however, we are not talking about that taste as such. It is an ability of water that Krishna is talking about. So he's saying, I'm the taste in water. Now, this is a fact from our Shastras. And that is that when I put something in my mouth, right? Or even when I see something very nice, I show you rasgulla, what starts happening inside the mouth?
Saliva starts gathering.
Saliva starts gathering, right? And saliva is made up of majorly
Water.
water, right? He's talking about raso, ãहमप, apsu, kaunteya. So you see, even even in a dog's body, the saliva starts coming, right? Because the taste. So there is saliva that comes, and he's saying raso, ãहमप, apsu, kaunteya. If Shastras tell us that if there was no saliva inside your mouth, right? If somehow you take a blow dryer and dry your tongue, at that time, if you put something on the tongue, you will not be able to taste it. So we are able to taste things only when it gets mixed with the water of the saliva, and then you taste different kinds of taste flavor that are coming from that particular item. So Krishna, so this ability to be able to comprehend and sense what taste is comes from water. If water is not there, you cannot taste. And so Krishna is talking about that I am that ability. Because Krishna is telling about his opulences, right? So, and in Srimad Bhagavatam, we read Anta Pramishta Abhati. In Brahma Samhita, we read Parmanu, that he enters into the atom also. He enters into every universe also, right? We have heard about all that. And so Krishna is all pervasive. And now he's telling about that how after being all pervasive, how he's also going down into these kind of elements also, right? That the taste also is coming from Krishna only. If Krishna is not there, if the taste is not there and the taste is coming from Krishna is not there, you won't taste anything, right? So that's why he's saying, I am the taste in the water. Rasoham apsu kaunteya. Saying that I am the taste in the water. So you remember that. And then what is he saying? After that, what does he say?
He is the light of the sun and moon.
He's the light of the sun and the moon.
Light of the sun and
right? So now what is this light of the sun and moon? Again, as we read from our Shastras, that this light is the effulgence. So we understand, as personalists, we understand that topmost spiritual planet is Golok Vrindavan, where Krishna is residing. And from that Krishna, all the light is coming from his body, his effulgence, right? And that effulgence will come into our universe. And inside the universe, that effulgence gets reflected by the sun. So all the light that you're seeing coming from the sun is actually the effulgence getting reflected from the sun and coming to us. So next time when you go out in the sun, you remember Krishna. It's Krishna's effulgence that is being reflected from the sun and is falling on you. So it gives you so much of comfort to see that how close you are to Krishna. Krishna is surrounding us, is with us everywhere. Anything that you do with your senses, he's there. So the skin is feeling, eyes are seeing because of sunlight, skin is feeling the sunlight. It's Krishna's effulgence that we're feeling, right? And then when the night comes, we get the cool moonlight. So what is moonlight? Moonlight is a reflection of the sunlight that falls on the moon, right? So sunshine falls on the moon reflects it and becomes cool, right? So that is prabhāsmi śaśi-sūryayoḥ, right? Now, if Krishna say, okay, so let's go further. Praṇavaḥ sarva-vedeṣu, right? So he's Pranava. Pranav is the name for Omkar. Okay, Pranav, he's the word Om, and sarva-vedeṣu, he's also the Vedas. Now, where else in Bhagavad Gita does this reference to Vedas come?
15.15.
Very good. And that is?
Sarvasya
sarvasya chaham saniyati vishto.
Mata.
Where is the Veda? Vedescha sarve ऽहमेव vedyo Vedanta krit veda vedeva. Right? So Vedanta krit, I am the maker of the Vedas. Vedanta krit, the Veda with, I understand the Veda. Right? So, he's saying that I am that and I'm also the Omkar. So again, for the Omkar, those who are impersonalists will vibrate Om. They will not say Krishna. They will not say Rama. They won't say Vishnu, any of that, because those names are associated with, if I say Krishna, what do you imagine?
Om. Yeah.
Om.
If I say Krishna, you imagine Om, is it? If I say Krishna, close your eyes. I'm saying Krishna, what are you imagining?
We visualize his figure,
Huh?
his picture,
Describe the
his
picture.
face.
His
What's the
lotus
special
feet.
lotus place, huh?
His lotus feet.
You would see
His
his
all,
lotus feet. Okay.
yeah, every part of his body is
Can you describe the
represented
part of
as
the
his
body?
form.
Can you describe one part of his body?
His lotus feet.
Okay.
They look like lotus. His eyes are like lotus. And Nabhi is like lotus.
Okay.
In Kuntī prayers, Mataji, it is. I
Namaha
don't
Pankaj.
Namaha Pankaj Nabhaya.
Namaha Pankaj Maline. Namaha Pankaj
Netraya.
Yeah.
Namaste
Namaste
Pankaj.
Pankaj.
Right? So so this we describe, right? And when we see Krishna, right? Krishna, the first thing that comes to should come to our mind is the flute and the peacock feather, right? Because that is what distinguishes him from Vishnu. Vishnu doesn't have those two things, right? So when we stake these names, then there is a certain form that comes into your mind, which means a body comes into your mind. So those who are impersonalists will not take that route. They will not want to chant this, right? So they will say Om, Om, Om. And so this one very nice devotee. It was such a funny thing that he was saying. And that was that he was saying that if a person is impersonate and is just chanting the word and the name Om, and he thinks that Krishna is impersonalist, he's a child in devotional service. He's like a child in devotional service, hasn't advanced yet. And as you advance in devotional service, you will take to the form of Krishna, right? Like that. So he was just saying that if you take a small child who doesn't know how to speak, and you ask him, what is your father's name? And so what will the child do? He doesn't speak, right? He'll just say, ow, ow, ow. He says, ow, 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 ow is om, 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 om. When you don't know who your father is, you say it is om. But when you grow up and they ask, what's your father's name? You say, yeah, Krishna Chandra. Like that. So om, omkar. But the interesting thing and the funny thing that Krishna is saying is that people might chant omkara, but he says that even om, I am the om. So I standing in front of you, Kaunteya, I am that om also. So basically, and Prabhupada is also explaining that in the purport there is that there will be impersonalists and there will be personalists. It is, but there is simultaneous oneness and there is simultaneous difference. If you just look at the effulgence of the Lord, you will say, well, yeah, Krishna is formless. Right? If you look at the Krishna beyond the effulgence, then he has got a form, right? So there is this thing that it's difficult sometimes to understand from our puny intellect that we have here. So he said, raso ऽहमप apsu kaunteya prabhāsmi śaśi-sūryayoḥ praṇavaḥ. And then what did he say?
Sarva-vedeṣu.
Sarva-vedeṣu. And then what did he say? What does he say in the last line?
Śabdaḥ pauruṣaṁ.
śabdaḥ pauruṣaṁ, right? Shabda means sound and K means ether, right? So as we get sound travels in ether, so I am that sound that travels in ether. And pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu. And for us, the most important thing is this part, pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu. What is the meaning of pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu? How is it defined there?
Ability. The ability in man.
Ability in man, right? So this is this part of the verse that where he's saying that I am the ability in man, right? This part is the part that will help us stay grounded and help us be humble, right? And what will make us humble is when we understand that if I have any ability in me, that ability is coming from Krishna. Right? That's he's saying, pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu. That in ability in man, whatever is the ability in man, that is I. And what is the most important ability in man is the ability to do devotional service. That ability is also coming, the ability to do devotional service that we have is also coming from Krishna. So next time that we do any marvelous feat, we should all understand that, right? So one thing is to understand that pauruṣaṁ rişu, that everything, any good quality or any capability, ability comes from Krishna, helps us stay grounded, right? And not go skyrocket high when something good happens. Oh, I can sing very beautifully. I am a very good singer. But remember, your capability to sing beautifully is coming from Krishna. So then the heart will swell with gratitude. When you understand that, your heart will swell with gratitude and say that, oh, okay, Krishna, I'm grateful that you have given me this talent, right? And then once you know that Krishna has given you this talent, then you would like to utilize that talent in the service of Lord, right? Like if a parent gives you some big lot of money, then what we do is that we go and buy, okay, let me do something for my parent with this money. Let me buy them a house or whatever, they want. So we try to go back and reciprocate with someone who has given you something out of gratitude. So this understanding that everything that happens over here is coming from Krishna helps us stay grounded and also helps us, be grateful to Krishna, and also helps us be not envious. And why? That is when we see capabilities in others, right? I barely want to sing, but I can sing, but somebody else sings very nicely, right? So when you associate that capability in other people also as associate that capability coming from Krishna, right? Then you will accept it with a better heart condition than his heart, right? Because it's Krishna. Krishna gave it to that person. Krishna did not feel me eligible enough or good enough to get that. Krishna did not give it to me. Krishna did not give it to me for my best, condition, for my best, for my best good. He did not give it to me. Because tell me, are all the good singers in the world the happiest people? How many died from overdose of alcohol, drugs, right? So it's not necessary that somebody has got capabilities and Krishna has given them that that's going to make them happy. And if he hasn't given you that, you have to be unhappy, right? So this verse is helping us lead our lives here like that, right? And to always remember Krishna. So this is also one way of, like when we say Krishna conscious, as Prabhupada says over here, that the impersonalist will see Krishna in the taste of the water. He'll say, oh, this taste of the water is coming from God. And it's an abstract, right? Doesn't have a form. So he'll see that. And then a devotee, Prabhupada says, will do that. He'll say, okay, this taste of the water is coming from Krishna. But then also what he'll do, he'll be grateful to Krishna. Hidvak vapobhir, with the dhan namaste. Right? So what he does is with his heart, vak, with his mouth, and with his body, he will glorify Krishna. Right? So there's a very nice example, and I'll just go to Srimad Bhagavatam and bring that up here. It is from the time when Krishna has, it's not a good topic, Krishna has left this planet. And so from which state does Krishna leave the planet? Which state in India? Where was Krishna when he left this planet? Where was he in India?
Prabhā.
Sorry?
Prabhā.
Yeah, but which state in India?
Gujarat.
Gujarat, yes. Dwarka. He was staying in Dwarka, right? With his family and his palace and all that, right? He was in Dwarka. So he left from there, and Arjuna was there. And then Arjuna returns back to Hastinapur, and he's talking to Yudhishthira. Okay. So then I'm going to bring that up chapter. This is the first canto of Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's the 15th chapter. Okay. Suta Goswami is explaining to Parikshit Maharaj that Arjuna, the celebrated friend of Lord Krishna, was grief-stricken because of his strong feeling of separation from Krishna, over and above all Maharaj Yudhishthira's speculative inquiry. So when Arjuna comes back to Hastinapur, he's looking very disheveled, he's looking very upset. And Yudhishthira Maharaj asks him a series of questions because Yudhishthira Maharaj had started seeing bad omens. So when he was seeing bad omens throughout the day and he sees Arjuna in this state, he's putting two and two together. He's got certain ideas he got an idea that Krishna has left the planet, but he doesn't blurt these things out. And the previous chapter is something that I would recommend reading because it tells you a lot about how do you handle these kind of situations, right? Like if somebody close to me was to come and knock at my door with a disheveled face, then immediately the thing will be like, oh, what happened? Who did this to you? Something like that, right? But you see how Yudhishthira doesn't immediately barge him with questions, and he barges him with questions, but different kinds of questions like that. So you can read that chapter. It's chapter 14. But here we are talking about how Arjuna is feeling after Krishna has left. Due to grief, Arjuna's mouth and lotus-like heart dried up. So when there is grief, there is no water in the mouth. So when there is grief, do you notice that when you are unhappy, things don't taste good?
Yeah.
Right?
Don't feel like eating.
That is another thing. Yeah. But even if somebody puts the food in your mouth, it doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
Right? So its mouth is dried from grief. And so that is one of the reasons. And of course, the mind is also there, right? It's a combination of that. Therefore, his body lost all luster. Now, remembering the Supreme Lord, he could hardly utter a word in reply. With great difficulty, he checked the tears of grief that smeared his eyes. He was very distressed because Lord Krishna was out of his sight, and he increasingly felt affection for him. Remembering Lord Krishna and his well-wishes, benefactions, intimate familiar relations, and his chariot driving, Arjuna, overwhelmed and breathing very heavily, began to speak. Arjuna said, O Krishna, O King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who treated me exactly like an intimate friend, has left me alone. Thus, my astounding power, which astonished even the demigods, is no longer with me. I have just lost him, whose separation for a moment would render all the universes unfavorable and void, like bodies without life. Only by his merciful strength was I able to vanquish all the lusty princes assembled at the palace of King Drupad for the selection of the bridegroom. This is Draupadi's Swayamvar, right? With my bow and arrow, I could pierce the fish target and thereby gain the hand of Draupadi. Because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indradev, along with his demigod associates, and thus enable the fire god to devastate the Khandava forest. And only by his grace was the demon named Maya saved from the blazing Khandava forest. And thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship, where all the princes assembled during the performance of Rajasuya Yajna and paid you tributes. He's talking to Yudhishthira. Your respectable younger brother who possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants. Who is that younger brother who possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants? Bhima, correct. Killed by his grace, Jarasandh, whose feet were worshipped by many kings. These kings have been brought for sacrifice in Jarasandh's Mahabhairava Yajna, but they were thus released. Later, they paid tribute to your majesty. It was he only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants who dared open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. At that time, she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes. During her exile, Durvasa Munu, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food saved by us, by his accepting food, thus the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuously fed, and all the three worlds were also satisfied. It was by his influence only that I was in a fight, I was able to astonish the personality of God, Lord Shiva and his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya. Who is his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya?
Parvati.
Parvati.
Thus he, Lord Shiva, became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me, and in addition, I was able to reach the heavenly planets in this present body and was allowed a half-elevated seat. When I stayed for some days as a guest in the heavenly planets, all the heavenly demigods, including King Indradev, took shelter of my arms, which were marked with the Gandhi bow, to kill the demon named Nivat Kavacha. O King, descendant of Jamina, Jamida, at the present moment, I am bereft of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose influence I was so powerful. So, repeat. At the present moment, I am bereft of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose influence I was so powerful. So, which part of the verse today is talking about this statement?
Ability in man.
Sanskrit, please.
Pauruṣaṁ.
Pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu, right? So he's talking about that, right? And so when there is pauruṣaṁ in the nṛṣu, but you see how the nṛṣu is behaving because he's a devotee of the Lord, right? So he's glorifying the Lord. The military strength of the Kauravas was like an ocean in which there dwelt many invincible existences, and thus it was insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I, seated on the chariot, was able to cross over it. And only by his grace was I able to regain the cows and also collect by force many helmets of the kings, which were bedecked with jewels that were sources of brilliance. It was he only who withdrew the duration of life from everyone, and who, in the battlefield, withdrew the speculative power and strength of enthusiasm from the great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Salya, etc. Their arrangement was expert and more than adequate, but he, Lord Krishna, while going forward, did all this. Great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Bhurishrava, Sushrama, Shalya, Jayadratha, and Bahalika all directed their invincible weapons against me, but by his, Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev, was unaffected by the weapons of the demons used against him. It was by his mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I descended from my chariot to get water for my thirsty horses. And it was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver, for he is worshipped and offered services by the best men to attain salvation. O king, his jokings and prank talks were pleasing and beautifully decorated with smiles. He addresses unto me as, O son of Pritha, O son of Kuru dynasty, and all such heartiness are now remembered by me, and thus I am overwhelmed. Right? So what I just wanted to emphasize over here is that Krishna, he's glorifying Krishna, and he's saying that because of Krishna, I got all those powers, right? Text 21, I have the very same Gandiva bow, the same arrows, the same chariot drawn by the same horses, and I use them as the same Arjuna to whom all the kings offer the due respects. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them at a moment's notice have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter on ashes, accumulating money with a magic wand, or sowing seeds on a barren land. O king, since you asked me about our friends and relatives in the city of Dwarika, I will inform you that all of them were cursed by the Brahmanas. So he's just going forward over here. But going back to text number 21, where he's saying that in the absence of Krishna, all his powers were just gone, right? So we see Arjuna as such a powerful Yodha, powerful warrior, and then such a great archer. So all those abilities in Arjuna were coming from Krishna. So after Krishna leaves this planet, Dwarka is going to be submerged in water, right? The whole city goes underneath water. But his wives were there. So then he starts to escort Krishna's wives and bring them to Hastinapur. And on the way, the same Arjuna is attacked by some cowherd people. And Arjuna is defeated. And so they kidnap, right? So there's a very interesting, so you see that he lost the powers. There's no Krishna, Arjuna loses his power. And this is what this verse is telling you. Right? Pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu. So
then how did
one
he
might
bring
just
his
think
wives?
that, yeah, so then they come back. So one might just think that, his wives are all, how come they are the wives of Krishna? So how could some lowly cowherd man defeat Arjuna and then go away with his wife, right? I mean, for example, we even know in the story of Sita, right? That, I mean, the Ramayana that we have read as children, as folklore, or from whatever sources, that will just say that Ravana came and took away Sita, right? But Sita is the energy of Krishna, right? She's incarnation of Radha. So how can some demon like Hiranya, like Ravana, how can he just take away Sita like that, right? So it's not the one he stole was not the Sita. That Sita had already, gone and merged into some fire. Some other Sita was there, who was there all along in Lanka, and Ravana was thinking this is the Sita, wife of Rama. That was not the case, right? And then there is the Agni Pariksha and all that. So that other Sita enters into the Agni Pariksha. The other Sita then vanishes, and the original Sita comes out of the fire. So that's Ramana. You have to go much deep, and acharyas will tell you the deeper significance of that. But anyway, so from I'm bringing in the story of Ramana to say that these ladies of the caliber of gopis or Sita or Radha, they cannot be just touched like that. How come the cowherd boys could take them away from Arjuna, right? That would be a question anybody would ask. And so there's a story behind that, and that is that who were these wives actually, right? So some of the wives were gopis, so they have wound up their past and they have to go back now. Krishna has gone back, they also have to go back, right? Some of them wanted from the other planets, they wanted Krishna as their husband, so they were there like that, right? So they were, in the previous verse, they were they had pleased Ashtavakra Muni. Ashtavakra Muni was a man who had a very deformed body. So it was like curved in 8 places. So normally how Krishna stands like that, right? He curves his body. Normally there are curves in 3 places, like this way, and that way. But Ashtavakra had 8, and he had a hump in his back. So when he used to walk, because of the deformities in his legs, in his hands, etc., he would walk in a very different way. Right? So when people have got difficulty walking, they will walk in a strange way, and it becomes very fascinating to others. I remember when I was living back in India, my daughter was very small. She was, I think, 3.5 or something like that. And then she had a friend next door, and the friend next door had a grandmom. And the grandmom had trouble with her legs, I think knee problem, whatever. She was also very heavy in weight. So when she used to walk, she used to move a lot while walking, right? Couldn't walk straight. So like moving. So my daughter, she was so young, she is so small. She came to me and said that, why does grandma auntie, move so much when she's walking? So people find it fascinating when people with deformities are walking. They are not able to comprehend it. So these these ladies also, when they saw Ashtavakra, they found it very fascinating and they laughed. So they had pleased Ashtavakra so much that Ashtavakra Muni had said that you will marry Krishna. He was so pleased by the service. But then at the time when they laughed, when he was walking, he got angry and he said, you will be kidnapped, although you are Krishna's wives, right? So then, but then he said that then they became very upset and they begged forgiveness and they served him even more. So then he said, okay, fine, then, but you will be released and you'll go back to Krishna. So in this whole thing, when Arjuna is not able to defend, Krishna actually expands himself as these cowherd men, fights with Arjuna and takes away all the wives and then returns them after some time. And then Arjuna brings them with him to Hastinapur, and finally they wind their pastime and go. So, so this particular verse is saying that without the sanction of the Lord, there cannot be any valor in a person, right? There cannot be just anything like that. So that's something that we have to keep in mind. Very, very powerful, very, very powerful verse today, telling us a lot of things for us. And then there was, what more was there? Raso, aham, apsu, kaunteya. Tell me what more things are there? Prabhāsmi, śaśi-sūryayoḥ.
kaunteya, prabhāsmi, śaśi-sūryayoḥ, praṇavaḥ, sarva-vedeṣu, śabdaḥ ke pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu.
Śabdaḥ ke pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu, right? So, when we see, I also wanted to emphasize, because when we see ability, we have a tendency to get envious there, right? So that is something that we should not, and we should not unnecessarily discriminate against other people. For example, it could be that people from a particular region, from a particular region are very good at doing something. They could be very good basketball players. So from where is that ability coming to be a good basketball player?
From
Krishna, right? So we should not just distinguish against them just like that, right? And discriminate that, oh, you know what, those people. No, we have to, get beyond those discriminations that we do, always associating those discriminations to be something that comes to us from Krishna, right? And like, as you also said that, don't be grateful, don't take the credit for your abilities or whatever you have done. Try to be humble in that as well, right? And then he also said, śabdaḥ pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu, right? śabdaḥ pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu. Yeah. So śabdaḥ, he said that I am the sound. I'm the sound in I'm the sound in ether, right? So he talked about ether earlier in the verse, right? What did he say about ether? Is one of his
energies.
energy.
Energy.
Right? Right. So in this verse, one approach to theism, right? One approach to thinking about God is being described. One approach, right? Our approach to thinking about God is we put a deity of Krishna, we feed him, we think, we sing, like that, right? Another approach is known as pantheism, panthavad, right, as I say. So now, those of you have used, most of you would have used a camera, right? So, or even if you're watching a picture, an image on your computer screen, right? You can go and zoom in, right? Right? You zoom in. So zoom in means that you go closer so that it starts looking bigger, right? For example, you look at me, right? You can see the chunni, you can see my face, nose, etc., right? But if I come close to the camera, see, the chunni is gone. You see? Now you only see the tilak. But if you go back, right? So we call that as zoom in and we call that as zoom out. Okay? In the world of camera, it is known as zoom and pan. So pan means the zoom will show you only a certain part of it, and pan will show you the full picture. Like that, right? So pan means complete, covers everything. So pantheism is looking at God as somebody who covers everything.
Okay.
So when people say he's the taste in the water, he's the sunshine, he's the mount, and the universal form of the Lord shows him everywhere. He's in the parmanu, he's in the atom, this, that, and that, right? So that way, that method of thinking about Krishna as all-pervasive is also goes by the word pantheism.
So that will be pantheism, Mataji?
Yeah, pantheism. Yeah, theism means, theo means God, right?
Yeah.
Theism is to believe in God. So pantheism means to believe in God in everything and everywhere. Pan, complete, everywhere, all-encompassing, like that. There.
How do you spell it, ma'am?
P-A-N, pan, and theism, T-H-E-I-S-M. Pantheism. Right? And then he was also talking about śabdaḥ pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu. Right? So śabdaḥ pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu. Now we have to understand a little bit about the creation, right? Because what he's describing this material world to us, right? He starts with bhumi, apo, analo, vayu, kham, mano, buddhirevacha, ahankara, itame, vinna, prakriti, ashtadha. That's it. These 8 will make your material world. And then in the next word, he talks about the spiritual world. Aparya sitam tanve, right? So aparayam, beyond that, right? In the transcendental, I have got this. So here he's talking about the material world. And in the material world, what happens is that this universe is created, right? Now, how does the creation of this world happen? So we have to remember that the creation of the world happens from the subtle to the gross. From the subtle, it will become gross. So now tell me, in the creation, bhumi, apo, analo, vayu, kham, mano, buddhirevacha, ahankaram, ityame, bhinna, prakriti, ashtadha. In this, which is the most subtle?
Yeah, Mataji.
Bhumi?
Huh?
Buddhi.
Bhumi?
Bhumi?
Air.
Subtle?
Yeah.
Bhumi is subtle?
No. Air,
Vayu.
Mataji.
Vayu.
Bhumi,
Vayu.
apo, analo,
Oh, Vayu.
vayu, kham,
Vayu.
mano,
Correct.
buddhir.
Here is that.
So which
Buddhi.
one is that?
But
Vayu and Buddhi both are subtle, Mataji. Very difficult to say.
Which is more subtle?
Vayu.
Vayu, I
Okay,
heard.
so now let us take Vayu. If you're all voting for Vayu, let's say Vayu and let's compare Vayu. Okay, which is more subtle, Bhumi or Vayu?
Vayu of
Vayu.
Vayu. Okay, which is more subtle, Apo or Vayu?
Vayu.
Mm,
Okay, which is more subtle, Analo or Vayu?
Vayu.
Vayu. Okay, and then which is more subtle,
Ether.
Kham or Vayu?
Kham buddhire. Buddhi. Uh,
Bhumi, Apo, Analo, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhi, Revacha.
Kham is ether.
Kham is ether. So, which is more subtle, ether or air?
Ether.
Ether, right? So, the most subtle is the ether. Okay? And then, it's more subtle, then little bit more gross than ether will be intelligence. More gross than intelligence is the mind,
Mind.
right? And then comes your, air, and then, fire, and then water, and finally the grossest is the
Bhumi.
earth, right? So now, so these are elements, right? Panchabhuta he talked about, and Asht, right? So Bhumi, Apo, Analo, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhi, Revacha. So we start with ether, okay? So ether is an element with which this material world is created, and it is associated with a sense object. So each of these elements are associated with a sense object, and of course, that sense objects can be sensed by a particular sense organ, okay? So we have ether. And what is he saying here in today's verse? What is he saying? Shabda K.
Sound.
Right? So Shabda is sound and K is ether. So he's
Ether.
saying I'm the sound in ether. So with ether, ether is associated with the sound object. If there is no ether, you will not be able to hear the sound. Okay? And what is the object that will help you to sense sound? What is the sense organ?
Mouth.
Ear.
ear.
Ear. Who said mouth? Sound.
Ear.
Not making sound, but hearing the sound, right? So to sense that particular sense object, like these are gyanendriyas, right? To gather the knowledge about the sound, whether it's a shrill sound or a sweet sound or a high tone, low tone, men's, women's, animals, like that, right? So you have a sense organ called the ear, right? So like in ether, from ether, sound is created, right? In ether, sound is there, and then ear is used to hear it. So Krishna is the sound in the ether. Okay. Then what happens is, as part of the creation, then it will go to the next level, a little bit more gross. So from ether, there are some transformations that will happen. And when the sense of touch is added to ether, then air is produced. Right? From ether, air is produced. So from air has got the sense of touch. And from how do you sense the touch? What organ do you use?
Skin.
Skin, right? Okay.
Skin.
Then from the air that is produced, you will add a form, the concept of form to fire.
Fire.
To air, then you get the fire. And how do you see that? How do you see things? Which
Eyes.
organ?
Eyes.
With eyes.
Right? Okay. And then you add taste. You
Tongue.
add taste to fire, then you get
Tongue.
Taste.
water.
Yeah. Tongue.
Then you add taste to fire, then you will get water. And that is, you use your tongue to sense it.
Tongue.
Now, when you add smell to water,
Nose.
then it becomes earth. Right? So this is how these things are created originally. And you see that in the Bhagavatam. Right? And
Mataji, will you give the sequence?
let's build the sequence together.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So you start writing down and tell us what you're writing. So start with
Ether.
first is ether. And ether, what is there in ether?
There is sound.
Shabda, yeah, sound, right? And what is the sense organ?
Ears.
Okay. Now from ether, you have to go to the next next more gross. So what is more gross than ether?
Air. Air.
Air. Okay. And then what do you get?
Sound.
No. What will you add to air?
Touch.
No, ether. Touch. Yeah. You'll add touch to ether and you'll get.
And
What organ do you use?
skin.
Skin.
And then next more gross. What is
Form.
more gross than air?
Fire.
Fire, right? Fire, and then there is form, and the organ is eyes. What is more gross than fire?
Water.
And how do you taste water?
Tongue.
Taste comes from the tongue. And then what is more gross than water?
Smell. Smell.
Fragrance, yes. And what is the sense organ?
Nose.
Nose.
Yeah.
And
What is this just said for smell, Mataji?
Fragrance.
Yeah. Huh?
Fragrance.
Fragrance. Okay.
And then you use your sense organ?
Nose to smell.
Yeah. So in this verse, he'll continue on to talk about Pithyam Gandham in the subsequent verses. But for today, we'll stop here with śabdaḥ pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu. Right? And to understand that Krishna is there everywhere. But here we are talking about pantheism, where this is one way. And this is actually the first step in God realization. And that's why the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam,
Yes.
the second canto, you will see that there's a chapter called First Step in God Realization.
So what is this pantheism for, if you said, Mataji?
Can somebody repeat what they heard and understood about pantheism?
The pantheism is that to believe that Krishna is present in everything.
Everywhere, yeah. That's pantheism. Pan means everywhere. Theism means the belief that there is God.
Yeah.
Good?
That is all-pervasive. Yeah.
Yes, he's all-pervasive there. And it is the first step towards God realization. Some people, to explain some people about God and to say that there is God, if they don't have the faith, it is very difficult for them to accept that there is God. So how do you explain God to them? You will start with this pantheism, or the universal form of the Lord. And then you'll say, you see Krishna, you see the taste of water, it is him. You see that person dances so beautifully, it is coming from God, from God, from God, from God, like that. It's the first step in God realization. You see God outside. Second will be inside as Paramatma. Third will be as Krishna, like that. So I'll stop here. We are beyond 7 o'clock and open up for questions, reflections, concerns, whatever.
How come I missed your class, Mataji? Today I was late.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice lecture. I was on and off. I have something. So, but I like the comparison you brought from this verse to Srimad Bhagavatam, and how Arjuna is describing all the where Krishna has helped in his life and in his brothers and wife's life. So it was really very nice, like how you have referenced that was very nice. Like,
and so from where does this capability to reference come?
Krishna. And I remember somebody was telling me once that you should keep a journal of how Krishna is helping you, so that whenever you have like I was saying to somebody, oh, I feel Krishna is there or not. So if Krishna is hearing our prayers or not, so then we can go back and see, okay, Krishna was there whenever we need, so he will come.
Yeah, and then somebody was also asking that, does Krishna answer all your prayers? I'm asking Krishna for such a long time. Krishna is not answering my prayers, right? And so he said that Krishna answers all our prayers. It's just that we don't like the answer. Like we say, I want this, I want this, I want this. He gives it. Oh, Krishna answered my prayer. He doesn't give it. He answered your prayer. He said, no, not good for you, what you're asking. I will not give it to you because you are my child. I care for you.
That's really good.
Thank you.
If he didn't give, he said no.
Yes.
If he gives, he said yes.
Because everything comes from Krishna, not a blade of grass.
Actually, Radhika Raman Prabhu at his lecture said that
yeah, Mataji. Yeah.
Krishna can decide when to give and when and what to give.
Yeah.
So he can answer your prayer, but it might not be when you expect it, and it may not be what you expect.
Yeah. I mean, look at Draupadi's case, right? She wanted a husband who was very intelligent, a husband who was good archer, a husband who was very strong, a husband who was very beautiful. She
She got 5
for
of them.
got 5, right? And then, handling one is enough, have 5.
Mataji, which sloka today you said? Which
Where
one?
did I say?
Bhumirapanalavayu?
7.8. Mataji.
No. Bhumi Apo Analo Vayu. This is a question for the class.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on. My favorite sloka is that. Bhumirapo analavayu kammana buddhirevacha.
So,
Ahankara mitiyame binna
yeah, so
prakriti.
you have to also tell then which you have to also remember the address of your favorite people, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, you have to understand and remember the address, like which chapter does it reside and which street is it on. So Bhagavad Gita 7 is the is the city, and 4 is the street number. Okay. 7.4 Bhumi Apo Analo Vayu Kammano Buddhirevacha Ahankara Ityame Bhinna Prakriti Ashtada Apareyam
Favorite.
Itasanyam Prakritim Vidinayam.
Favorite sloka.
Yeah. Jiva Bhuta Mahabhavo Yayedam Dharyate.
Mataji, last Saturday we had class?
Last week?
Last week?
Yes. We had
Yes,
announced.
we did.
How
Yeah,
come
we
I didn't
announced also.
come? I didn't attend the class, Mataji. I don't know. My bad luck. So, Sukamala Mataji,
Ah,
you didn't think of me?
I did, but where I wouldn't know
I'm
why
here
you are not.
only. I'm here only.
Okay, next time I'll remind you.
Please.
So sweet.
Vashana Mataji, you also should think of me.
Yes. Sure.
She's
Mataji,
laughing.
sorry.
She's laughing.
No, I'm not laughing.
We
Mataji.
you never forget, Mataji. We thought you'd never forget.
I don't know. You all forgot me.
You're
How come I
No.
forgot the class last Friday? I don't know. I didn't ask Shraddha Mataji.
Sukomal Mataji, I heard your sons speaking on about you and during the time of your initiation. My God, it's so sweet, Dr. Neil.
Yeah. Thank you.
It was indeed very sweet.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Maji. Thank you, Maji.
I didn't see that class, that initiation ceremony, but
Yeah,
I
because
sent
he
you
hasn't been able
congratulations.
to come for any of the main festivals, or even my first initiation was online in 2020 because it was COVID. So he was also not there at that time. So he spoke again on Zoom, and so this time I asked him because Nisha gets to speak, but not me. Also,
I am so lucky. My second initiation, I was in front of Guru Maharaj, Guru Ma, everybody, because first initiation it was on Zoom.
yeah, same for me. Yeah, we both got initiated at the same year. In the same year, yeah.
Oh. So you might be in that pandal.
Yeah.
I was in the temple here.
Thank you, Mataji, for the beautiful class. I need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It was wonderful.
So
Yeah.
much.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much, Shraddha Mataji. Please think of me.
Okay,
Thank you so much,
I'm
Shraddha
a
Mataji.
foreign soul.
Who is that? Yeah. Go ahead, Mataji.
Mataji, we will continue this, Mataji. Ether, air, fire, water, fragrance, and then
Krishna will pick up. Whatever Krishna will continue, will continue.
It was very interesting. I was actually driving, so I was listening to you at the same time. And I just loved the one that you said, because last week I missed the class also. So he's the taste of the water. Krishna is the taste in the water. And when you explained it, it's like, wow, yeah.
Mhm.
And it's such a nice opportunity for us to remember Krishna, because we always say that Krishna is conscious, right?
Fragrance
So,
also.
Yeah, and one day I was just explaining it. This was a joke that what does it mean to be Krishna conscious in life, right? Does it mean that I get up in the morning and I do my rounds and chant and take shower, put tilak and all that? Does that mean Krishna conscious? So it was like, no, you have to be Krishna conscious in all your dealings. And it was like, if you're in your house and your husband says something to you, or your wife says whatever, vice versa, and then before you reply, you think that Krishna is standing next to you. And now you reply.
Not only that, in that Patidev or Patni, and if you see Krishna, we won't answer harshly, we won't argue. We won't argue.
Yeah, we won't argue, because we can argue, but in a very in a different way.
Polite way.
Yeah, in a polite
If
way.
I see Krishna, I'll be more polite.
Yeah, and then also you don't have to see Krishna, but more like a Krishna's creation, and and also, so that is there with the people who are around, right? And now this is going to the next level, not people around you, but more water, right? How can I be thinking about water? So next time you sip from your glass of water, you think about Krishna, right? You think about how many dollars industries are spending to present Krishna to you in the best form.
But not only that, in a devotee also we should see Krishna, Mataji.
Of course, that goes without saying.
If that is main thing, because if that is the way, then we won't be having any enmity with anybody or anything like that.
So on that happy note, now you can spend the weekend looking for Krishna everywhere, in everything. When you smell something, you remember that smell is coming from Krishna.
I think I missed 15 minutes class. 15 minutes class.
No, you missed more than 15.
Is that?
Sorry.
Oh, no.
You can
watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, listen to YouTube.
The recording.
Okay.
But not like this.
Yeah,
I'm going to stop the recording now.
Okay.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha
Kripa